हम तो रखते हैं मुसलमानों का दीन, हम तो रखते हैं मुसलमानों का दीन, दिल से है.
Few weeks back, we were in Belize, so there was a QA session, and during that QA session, one lady asked a question in French. First, she inquired, because I can only speak in French, and then because Professor was sitting there too, it was Allah Ta'ala's, because he was sitting there, and she was surprised that there is someone who can understand French and then who can answer as well. So that was coincidence as well, that Allah Ta'ala provided the resource to Jama'at, that Nabi Sahib answered the question at the same point to that lady.
से हम बेजार हैं.
So let's pray and then we start the session of Sobat Salim. Dua karo.
खाके राहे अहमदे मुख्तार हैं, खाके राहे अहमदे मुख्तार.
By the grace of Allah the Almighty, on February the 16th, another session of Sobat Salihin was held in the boardroom of Avan Tahir. Joining the National Majlis Amla for this session was Respected Rashid Anwar Sahib, serving as Missionary in charge of Canada. The session began with silent prayer and brief introductions. Murabbi Sahib began explaining the importance of these types of programs.
From my early childhood, I remember that I participated in such programs, and there were many Buzurgan, they were there. And today, I was wondering that perhaps I will also be one day conducting such a program, which I don't feel I have that capacity. But when I thought over this Sobat Salihin topic, then I thought that I have attended so many programs and so many great personalities in my life. So let us talk about those persons whom I have met from my childhood. Sometimes I stayed very near to them, and sometimes I was not that near, but I could achieve certain things. But when I think over and go back to my childhood and all my life I spent, I regret also that the things I should have achieved with those great persons, I have not achieved those things. And I would say that beside me there will be certain persons who will be coming to you and who are around you, and sometimes you have time to sit behind these people, and you have to try to get benefit of their experiences, especially spiritual experiences.
Rabbi Sahib then took a moment to reflect how blessed he was to be around such righteous people.
Another chance that I had, that I was born in Rabwah, and I have seen certain things from my childhood which were not seen later on. First of all, I would say that I had that chance to see Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Though I was very small at that time, my mother took me to see Hazur radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he was on his bed. And what I remember, that when I was introduced to Hazur understood that because my father, he knew him, and he just passed his head on her hand on my head, and he prayed for me. And I think perhaps if I have something, that is because of that love, that those prayers Hazrat Khilafat Masih Sani has done, we could have some benefit of those prayers too. Hazrat Khilafat Masih Sani, he was on bed, he was not feeling well when we were child, and I remember very well when he passed away and when he was buried. And Hazrat Khilafat Masih Salis Rahimahullah Ta'ala leading his funeral prayer. Then how was Rabwah before talking of Hazrat Khilafat Masih III? Rabwah was such a place at that moment, especially when something very special, something very spiritual, as if it is materialized, spirituality is materialized there. Everybody, there was almost no car in Rabwah at that time. And there was one car sometimes, that was the car of Hazrat Khilafat Masih III. And sometimes Hazur, Hazrat Khilafat Masih III, he came to our mahalla where we lived, because the driver lived there. And there was another reason why Hazrat Khilafat Masih III, he came to our mahalla, because Maulana Abul Atta Sahib, also a great scholar of the Jama'at, he was also in our mahalla, and sometimes Hazrat Khilafat Masih, he came to see him at his home. And that kind of visits certainly took place for other persons too. But Maulana Abul Atta Sahib was a very special person in Rabwah. And when he walked in front of our houses, because there was even not very few people had the bicycles here. He walked to his office every morning, and after Zohar, when office was closed, he came back and he passed the same day. As if an angel is walking on the streets. Such a great experience we had even in our childhood.
After recounting a few more sweet memories of his childhood, Rabbi Sahib explained how these righteous companions were lifelong teachers.
I had another chance that there were two Sahaba. I can say they were my teachers too. One of them, both of them rather, I could say they taught me the Holy Quran, though I was very small at that time, but I was sitting among the elderly persons who were learning with him. And I was also learning with them, but at that time, perhaps in the beginning, I had no interest in that way, you can say, but I was sitting only. Then, the first companion was Mukarram Mirza Barkat Ali Sahib. He was one of the parents of Mirza Lutfur Rahman Sahib and others, Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib also. They also lived in our mahalla. And then another companion of Hazrat Masih Maud, he was the grandfather of Lord Tariq Sahib, and he was the editor of Review of Religions at that time. He taught me English, and I could learn from him whatever I have. It is because of him. And we sat in the mosque, and in the mosque he was teaching to me. And then the Holy Quran also. In that class, my father was also there, and the people of the age of my father were there, and I was also sitting among them. I remember that this is one of the benefits of Sohbat-e Salihin also. he taught me certain things, or he taught me certain etiquettes. He showed me how to do the things. I was a child. Once he was writing something on the board, and that board was fixed in a wall, and wall was not very high. And when other people, they were standing and watching what he was writing on the board, I sat on the wall. I was a child. He told me that elderly persons are there and you are sitting on the wall. Is it a good thing? That really struck me, and I said, I didn't do the appropriate thing. I shouldn't have done that. And that stayed in my mind. And these were our Buzurg. These were the elderly persons who were teaching us everywhere it was possible to teach something. So he lived a long life by the grace of Allah, and he passed away when I was in college in FA at that time.
Rabbi Sahib then explained how some of the most beautiful personalities are misunderstood.
Then there were other persons like Maulana Abdul Malik Khan Sahib. He had a very extraordinary personality, very extraordinary character he had. The people thought that he is a very hard person, and every time he will not tolerate anything which will not be good. When I passed Jamia, and then I was posted for a few months in the office of Islam Shad, where he was the Incharge, I thought that now life will not be easy for me. But what happened? When I went to his office, the student who has just passed his Jamia and he has gone to field, he was so polite, so sweet. I could not imagine that this was the personality. I had that kind of ideas about him. And during those days, there were Fazl Umar classes also, Fazl Umar Talim al-Quran classes. And there was a very senior Murabbi there. He was in charge of that class. He called me and said, he is the person who is taking care of the class. I thought perhaps he will ask me to assist him. I was ready for that, but he said, no, you will be the in charge and he will be your assistant. It was very strange for me. But I did what I could do. But during all my stay in that office, I thought an extraordinary personality he was. And these were few months later, he passed away also in an accident.
After the emotional recollection, the discussion segued to those who are the beloveds of khilafat and their immense dedication to the Jama'at.
There were few times when Hazrat Sir Zafrullah Khan Sahib also visited Rabwah. We just needed a small hint or indication that the Choice Sahib has come. We knew that for the prayers he will be there. We went there. And once in the presence of Hazrat Khilafat Masih III, Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib sat in the Masjid Mubarak and he addressed the persons as Hazrat Khilafat Masih III has asked him to do. So, very sweet personality again, Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib. He talked very slowly but distinctively. We could hear him clearly whenever he talked. But that personality had a great impact on my mind. And we knew that he is the person who is helping the students wherever they needed. He was helping the orphans also. One of the things that was in my mind at that time too, and even now that stayed in my mind, and I read also later on again with more details, it was that Joy Sahib was living in the same place near Mosque Fazal in London. And once Jama'at requested him that if we are going to take loan from banks, we will have to pay interest. Will it be possible that you can give us loan and we will pay you every month something, and this way it will be finished? Joy Sahib loved that idea and said, okay. A document was prepared and it was asked that Joy Sahib may sign it, and a representative of Jama'at also will sign. He said, okay, I will sign it, but let me check it and have it with me. Tomorrow morning I will give you. He took the paper, and next morning he came and said, Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan, whatever he has, it is by the grace of Allah and by the grace of Jama'at. And today Jama'at needs something. Should I give that something to Jama'at as loan? I was ashamed of me, he said, when I thought that I should give loan to Jama'at. He tore into pieces that paper and gave in place the check of 100,000 pounds at that time, and said I should not give loan. It is from my side, my contribution for that. And the place which was left for Sir Zafrullah Khan Sahib was that small, one bed, a sofa, and there was some cupboard for clothes and other things. It was hard to pass through all those furniture which was there. It was so small. One of the persons who loved Chaudhry Sahib, he insisted to visit Chaudhry Sahib, and Chaudhry Sahib took him to his apartment. When he entered, he said, "You are living in such a small place?" But what was the answer of that? He said, where we will go after that, it will be smaller than that.
Naturally, such blessed individuals have a way of making a special place in our hearts. Murabbi Sahib recalls one such missionary.
There was a person again, and I loved that person. That was Maulvi Zahoor Hussain Sahib. Maulvi Zahoor Hussain Sahib, he is known as the missionary of Bukhara, Russia. When Hazrat Khilafat Masih II, he asked young youth of that time that go out for tabligh, and he was one of those persons who went to Russia. But when he entered Russia, he was arrested and he was in prison for a long time, and they tied him in ropes, and it was so terrible that sometimes we were small children, we went to see him and we asked him, please show us those signs of those ropes on your body. And he showed sometimes here in front. He showed those signs, and those signs of ropes were there. And that was our childhood. That was like a fun also for us, because we were small children. We didn't know the importance of that. But later on, the first or among the first books I read completely was the book, or was the biography of that person, Rashid Sahib. Reading that book, I had that idea that, oh Allah, can me be a person or among those persons who will introduce Ahmadiyyat to an area, to a country where there will be no Ahmadiyyat at all. That shows that how great feelings that persons or the person will have who goes to a place where there is no Ahmadiyyat at all, and he establishes Ahmadiyyat, or he becomes a source of establishing Ahmadiyyat. So, Maulana Zahur Hussain Sahib Bajwa, I would also invite you all, if it is possible, his biography is there, even if it is not newly published, but if you can get it, that will be a good thing to read, and that will give you a real spirit of the services of Ahmadiyya.
Regarding the events of 1974, Murabi Sahib explained the changes he saw in Rabwah.
Rabwah started changing also. In 1974, what happened, that also a history, and at that time I was in my FA, first year FA, and I saw I was not there, but I saw the people coming back from railway station. What happened there? That is something perhaps we will not be able to go in detail here in this session. And then after 1974, Rabwah started changing. They declared Rabwah as an open city, where there was always, all the time, spirituality. We can even breathe spirituality there. It was such a pure and very beautiful atmosphere there. But after 1974, the people which were not Ahmadi, they started coming, and they started disturbing that atmosphere which was there. Then Ziaul Haq period came. That was also something very disturbing for us. But later on, Jamia Ahmadiyya, life of Jamia Ahmadiyya started, and we, by the grace of Allah, we finished Jamia Ahmadiyya.
Murabi Sahib then spoke about his time serving in Ivory Coast and the immense blessings of obeying khilafat.
And in 1992, I was again called back to Ivory Coast, and Huzur appointed me as missionary Incharge. The thing which is important now is that Ivory Coast is a country which which got its independence for 30 years ago at that time. And there was a president of that country, a very ideal person, a man who loved that country. And he stayed the president of that country more than 30 years. And but during that time, there was almost no progress at all of Jama'at. In registers, we could see almost 3,000 persons who did Bai'at. But these 3,000 persons, we couldn't see them. They were in different places, some of them perhaps passed away even, but that was there. We were present in 4 or 5 cities of that country. But when I came back to Ivory Coast, few days after, in October 15, I came there, and almost towards the end of the October, I received the letter of Hazur Anwar saying that every country is progressing, but Ivory Coast is not doing anything. Why don't you copy your neighboring countries? They are making progress, and they are using their paramount chiefs and others as their umbrella. You should also do that. Perhaps there was some special prayers from Hazur at that time. That because whenever we went for Tabligh, there was no result at all. But when this letter came, we went again, and the people, they started responding now. But before that, they were saying, "Oh, okay, you have left a message. We will consider and then let you know." Nobody answered after. But this time, there was many positive answers from the people. And I can say that by the grace of Allah, something very strange happened, that from November and December that we had, almost 2 months, we got 3,000 bats, new bats. And we were wondering how it happened, and it was not possible before that. But God wanted to show us something perhaps more memorable thing, you can say, in our lives. I received a call, and Karam Adili Chaudhry Sahib was there at that time. He was additional Wakil Tafsir. He phoned me and said, Hazur has dreamt something very important, and there will be Ilmi Bath institution which will be installed, and Hazur will be very soon giving some targets to you also, like other countries. We were waiting what will be our target. We thought something in hundreds perhaps will be asked to do. Few days after, we received a letter saying that you will have to have 5,000 baths. We were shocked. In 30 years we had 3,000, and in just 6 months we are asked to have 5,000. But we thought that okay, in 2 months we could have some baths. Allah will give us more baths, inshallah, during these 6 months. But Allah wanted to again show us that it is not because of our efforts, it is because the time has come and Hazur is praying especially for us. We received another letter that your target will not be 5,000, it will be 10,000. we said, how it will be possible? But we said, Hazur has said it will happen. And at that time we didn't have even a single car with us. Everything was done on buses. There was a small car that could not even go out of the capital. Then we started again working on that target. And at that moment I forgot all other missionaries were appointed in different countries. I was alone there and with some muallimin which were prepared there locally. But it is not because of anybody. It is not the job of anybody. It is, I will let you know what it can be later on. Just 15 more days passed, we received another letter. Your target will be 15,000. So we started working, but we were wondering how it will happen. By the grace of Allah, until June, we got 16,000 something baths. But it is just like a person. When he is under a tree and the fruit is ripe, it has to fall. And a person, and that person, even if he's a child, he just puts some clothes or something like that under, and fruit just falls in that. I let you know, and I am convinced that it was not because of our efforts, it was purely with the prayers which were done by Hazrat Guftugu. And we cannot be successful in our efforts without the prayers of Hazrat Guftugu. And it continued. I can continue the same thing, what happened in the next years, and after next year, after next year. But the graces of Allah, we cannot even count. At that time, when in 92 I can talk, 5 cities the most we can count where there were Ahmadis were present only. Not we cannot talk about the Jama'at. But when, I don't know exactly now, but when I left Ivory Coast, by the grace of Allah, Ahmadiyyat was in more than 1,000 villages and cities. And it is because of the grace of Allah.
Even in the political turmoil in the Ivory Coast at the time, it was the blessings of Allah that safeguarded them.
That the country was divided into two. Rebels came and they occupied more than 60% of the country. And in the beginning it was impossible to go to the other side of the country. And that was something very sad for us, that how we can, and all missionaries which were there after later on, they had to leave the country because of the situation. Then we were able, or Allah gave us this opportunity that we establish our contacts with the rebels too. And when we established those contacts, we went to that area, and I had some videos with me, and they protected us with arms, and they were firing right and left, saying that these are our guests, you cannot do anything. But the only thing was that was difficult for us, that when we went to those villages, we cannot work with that freedom that we could do before. But I just let you know, we are humble servants of Ahmadiyyat, of Hazrat Masih Maud Wasalam. We have no importance at all. But the way we were welcomed in the villages, in the Jama'ats, it was amazing. On both sides of the roads, the ladies and the gents separately, dressed in white, they were standing for many meters before the entrance of the village or the Jama'at. And this respect, we cannot cannot have the right to have that respect which was given to us.
Rabbi Sahib then explained how Ahmadiyyat flourished in the Ivory Coast.
And it was because of Hazrat Muslim Maud. They were singing sometimes, they were welcoming us with different ways. So this was something very important, and one of the things I wanted to mention here, that how Allah opens His ways. There were few imams, and in Ivory Coast especially, it was a system of imam. If an imam says something, the village cannot, or villagers cannot refuse. They will say automatically yes. And few imams, they were having a status of, you can say, a commander of the area. There was an imam who was the head of 75 villages. When he understood Ahmadiyyat, he said, take my letter. He was a very old person. Take my letter, go to these villages, they will not refuse you. And that happened. And because of that, sometimes in a day, 10,000 persons, they were accepting it. All this was not because of us. And when we went there again, sometimes they give gold, sometimes they give even a cow, and they say, this is our gift for you. And hands and other things, that was uncountable. So much love, impossible. And sitting there, and one scene you have seen already in Burkina Faso, staying that place, even those people, they have not even saw Hazrat Khalifatul Masih or met Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, but the love of Khalifatul Masih is so anchored in their hearts that even if there is threat of life, they will not care about that. So this kind of people we have seen. And one of them says that before accepting Ahmadiyyat, as if I was a radio as you see, and that radio is plugged in electricity and it works. But he said, before Ahmadiyyat, as if my cable was not plugged in electricity. And now it is plugged in electricity. I can have now once again good dreams which I didn't have before. So these kind of things were there. One of the persons, sometimes I'm ashamed of myself for such an example, but it happened. I wanted to sign a paper. A youngster came. I didn't have anything to put under to sign the paper. He came, he just went in front of me and said, okay, you put the paper here and you sign. We have not come for these kind of things, but I just let you know the love these people they have.
During the session, light refreshments were served and the session concluded with a group photo.
है ये क्या ईमानदारों का निशान, है ये क्या